Okay. Do you see it?
I see the welcome, but I don't see you.
Okay. I see you in the bottom. Let's see how to get it up there. Ooh. There
There
we
we
go.
go.
Ooh, Lord have mercy.
It is the week before Mercury retrograde. So
Yes.
let's put all of our electronics into a nice little bubble.
So have you done StreamYard before? I have not done it in years.
I
Okay.
have. I've done StreamYard, Zoom, and Riverside. Is it Riverside? The other one?
Okay. So how do you
Yeah.
usually do it? Do you usually go into
Well, it says that you're live, so I don't know where you're streaming to.
I'm streaming to
Yeah.
YouTube and my Facebook.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. So we're ready.
Let's see. I'm gonna check to see if are we in a Facebook group or are we on
It should be on my business page.
your business page?
If not, it should be on my personal. Ooh.
Well, it's not showing up on your personal.
Okay, so maybe it's on my business. Terry and Russell, Sassy Soul Healing.
Oops. Well, I'll let you. I can't find the link for
Okay, let me look in there quick.
although I should probably have it on your
Let's
podcast.
see.
That's 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
They were like, what? Nope, I see it there. Okay.
That was almost 4
Okay.
weeks ago. Wow. Awesome. Okay.
Okay,
Well,
we're
hello.
live. Ooh, Lord have mercy.
So how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. How are you? Now that we can get that out of the way.
I am doing quite well. It is quite windy here today.
Where are you again?
I'm in Maryland.
Maryland. Okay.
Yeah. But I tell you, I have had a day of like where I have been really unmotivated to do much of anything today.
Yeah.
It's been one of those weeks. I've been
Mm-hmm.
really motivated to do anything at all this week.
Yeah. I think there's a lot going on. I know
Yeah.
for me, I'm like up in the clouds.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm jumping from, I'll get lost someone will send me a reel and I'll get lost in reels for a half an hour before I realize I'm like, wait a minute, this is not what I need to be doing with my time.
Right. Why
You
not?
know, or I'll get lost in a book and I'm like, wait a minute, I've spent way too much time in this book. I need to,
Yeah.
go switch laundry or do the dishes or, you know, do something else.
Yeah. So we can start talking a little bit about that. I'm so happy to have you on my show. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the craziness that's going on in the world. There's a lot of people that I've seen that I know personally that have this conception that everything is turning to shit. And I'm like, yeah, well, part of that is true. But, when you look at the bigger picture aspect of that, there's always a silver lining behind that, what's going on the 3D level compared to what's going on the 5D level. So can you talk a little bit about that with me? How do you feel about what's going on today and how it's shifting us towards this new progression that we're moving to?
Oh gosh. I bounce back between my ego and my soul quite often with what's going on in the world right now.
I'm glad you
Um,
said that.
because my ego is a little petrified. My ego is um it's a little petrified and it's a little bit excited too. It's kind of going back and my ego is going back and forth as well on like where is this taking us? Um how is all of this going to play out? And then I have to remember that I can't control anything that I am seeing out in the media, on social media, in the news. I can't control any of that. My control kind of ended at my vote. And after that, it's in the control of those that we voted in.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I tend to retract a little bit when I start to feel that frustration or that sadness over what I'm reading or what I'm hearing, because I also have to sit back and go, my gosh, is what they're putting out there, is this really what happened? Is this really
Mhm.
what was said? How is this being interpreted by who's putting it out there? And then how is it being how am I interpreting their opinion?
Yes.
And so I've really learned to just step back and go and start doing my own research
Hmm.
into things, and really not sharing my own opinion because, in the past, I have already lost relationships with friends and family because our opinions differed so much.
Right.
Um, and there wasn't able to be a nice balance of, well, you have your beliefs and I have mine. And, I just there's just so much um, repeating of patterns that I'm seeing throughout history that we're doing,
Yeah.
and it's just very sad that we can't lead with love, and that we have to lead so much with our opinions and with our ego.
Yeah. I totally agree. Long ago, I always questioned like why I was here and what I was supposed to bring to the world. And a long time ago, I was told I was supposed to bring love. And I was like, well, how am I supposed to do that in a world just so full of hatred? Little old me, this tiny little person, how am I going to bring love to this world? And I can see how energy healers and many of us in this position now are being called to live between the 3D and the 5D, right? We're being called to, yes, we still have this human perspective and we live in this human experience, but we also do have this soul perspective and this bigger picture idea that there's something driving all of this behind it, and that we are not in the driver's seat. A
No.
lot of times that collective energy, it's driven by everybody and everyone. And if you get caught up in that fear, that doubt, that anger, it only drives and builds more of that. So for me, like you, when I get caught up in that, I really try to take a step back and see, okay, where am I feeling this within me, right? What other things am I feeling within me as well? Because those things in myself have to be looked at as well, right? Am I judgmental?
Yeah.
Am I feeling the hatred? Why do I feel so much pain and anxiety of the collective? And but that's because I know that I've been such an empath my entire life, right? So we have this path of this healer, right? And we go through our life, and now we're in this really pivotal time. The shift, it's here now, right? I've talked about it for years. I don't know if you have, but for years I've been saying this is where we're going to be. Have you thought about that or talked about it?
With other practitioner friends, I have. Most of the clients I work with, um, I feel that my purpose is here to help them through that human experience.
Hmm.
I work with a lot of people um, on anxiety, depression, stress, overwhelm, burnout, those kinds of things, and those are very human emotions, very
Yeah.
human conditions. And it's my purpose to help people through those things. And then when they're ready to, if it's on their path to go further into their spiritual awakening, then it's time for them to move on from me.
Yes.
And it's taking me about 4.5 years to be okay with that. Even though my awakening has taken me so much further, where I can see, gosh, we're coming into a whole new world. We really are coming into a world where there is going to be more love and more compassion. But like with everything else, things get worse before they get better.
Yes.
And this worse might last 2 or 3 lifetimes. That I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know that we're coming into a space where kids are being born without all of the emotional baggage that we were born with. So there's new
Yes.
souls that are coming into this human experience. And so it's, maybe it's just a few generations away that there's going to be more love, more compassion. But it would be great if we as adults woke up a little bit more to see that we needed to really step back and try to work together, as opposed to you're wrong, I'm right, and this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And a lot of that does go back to those old conditions, beliefs, and thoughts, right? Because my parents are boomers, so they believed a certain way. And how they raised me, which was Gen X, believing those beliefs. And it's taken my generation, and myself included, a long time to sort of shift what those beliefs, those patterns, those thoughts were.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so the children now, I see it with my daughter. My daughter's 15, and I knew the second that she was brought here for this entire new purpose, this new generation that would bring in these codes, right? And as the mother of a child like that, she was always extra sensitive, but I was extra sensitive as well. So I had to learn, I had to really struggle with all of that, because the belief then was, you're too sensitive, you cry too much, you talk too much. Whereas now the whole shift in that is you really embrace who those children are, right? You embrace their sensitivity. You want them to be able to embrace their sensitivity, because that's what's going to carry us through all of those hard times when we're sort of used to that old divide. We're going to be able to come together, because those children hold the codes, they hold the compassion, the empathy that's needed for us to step into that new space.
Right. And that's where the learning to feel our emotions comes in on the human experience, in this human experience, that if we don't learn to process emotions, we don't learn that it's okay to be mad, it's okay to be angry, but being mad and angry doesn't mean that you're punching things or screaming at things or anything like that. You're mad, and you're feeling it in your body, and you're feeling these sensations. And you're like, it's okay to be mad about this. It's okay to be mad that I got a flat tire.
Yes.
But with the understanding that taking it out in a violent way is not healthy, is not how to get that energy moving.
Right. How do you express it in a non-violent way, or a way that doesn't suppress it or shove it down? My daughter is known for saying, I just shove my emotions down. That's where they go when I don't want to feel anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. Like, she's been through such a traumatic lifetime already at her age. And I'm like, that is not healthy for us to shove it all down, because I know what it does. I've been there, right? And so part of my job is to not only teach her, but show her, right? I have to show her in presenting how I live my life, how I choose to react to things that are difficult or negative, and where my anger comes up, right? Because we don't want them to suppress it. We don't want them to ignore it either. We want them to be able to express it and have the ability to feel what that anger is. And a lot of times we hold anger, right? But what's behind that anger?
Right. And that's the questions that we have to start asking ourselves when we're feeling angry. It's like, why am I feeling angry? Okay, you get a flat tire. Why am I angry? Am I angry because I got a flat tire? Or am I angry because I'm now going to be late for an appointment? Or am I angry because I asked my spouse to put air in the tire, and he didn't put air in the tire? So am I mad because he didn't put air in the tire? But was it really his responsibility to make sure air got in the tire? Or was it mine because I'm the one who brought up the fact that I needed air in the tire?
Right.
Right. There's so many different questions to ask. Why am I mad? Or the next one would be, is this even mine? Am I really mad? Is this motion even mine?
Yes.
And if it's not yours, then how do you get rid of it? Well, you still allow yourself to feel it. You say, okay, so I'm feeling this anger. It's not mine. So I'm going to send it back. I'm going to send it back, but I'm going to send it back as love.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to put more negative things, more negative energy back out into the world.
Yeah.
We can be mad and not be what we envision mad is. We can be mad and still be calm.
Yes.
And a lot of people have a very hard time wrapping their heads around that. And
Yeah, I
sometimes,
think because, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and sometimes you get so mad that yes, you're going to physically feel it and you're going to have to shake or move or walk. You may even have to walk away from a conversation that is making you mad.
Yes.
So when you feel those negative emotions coming up, they're telling you there's something going on here that your energy, your body does not like. And that's your cue to leave.
Yes.
And you have to be brave enough to say, you know what, the situation is not for me. I'm going to leave.
Right.
Or we need to end this conversation and maybe pick it up at a different time.
Right. And notice
know?
the difference how you feel when you're sort of setting those boundaries versus, feeling everything that other person is heaping onto you. Because a lot of times it is just that, right? They're just releasing that negative toxicity that they have, and then they go off feeling much better. And then you're here like carrying it all. And it took me many years to learn what that toxicity does to my body personally. And to learn how to feel it and to say, okay, it is okay to set these boundaries and it is okay to walk away from this, right? I don't have to sort of make this person believe that my version is the correct version, right?
Right. There is no right or wrong. There really isn't, because everybody's perception is different. There's your right and wrong, and then there's their right and wrong.
Yes.
And I think it's safe to say that if we do get into a situation where tension is rising, voices are getting raised, we're yelling back and forth, to give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up because you're trying not to show anger in this heated, violent way. Because for me, yelling very loudly is violent.
Yes.
Because that's what I grew up with. For me, that was scary.
Me too.
So when anybody starts to yell around me or at me, it really triggers those inner child emotions, and I start to like cower and get scared, and then that triggers me to want to be loud and bigger than they are, because I'm finally able to stand up for myself.
Yes.
But when that happens, hasn't happened in a very long time, but when that happens, I have to give myself grace, because I'm still human. I'm still learning how to manage, how to go through those events, because I'm so lucky that those events don't happen very often.
Right.
So I'm not proficient at it because I haven't had to be, which is a good thing, right? It's a double-edged sword.
It truly is. Talk
Um,
a little bit about some of the subconscious stories that we tell ourselves, because, you can find yourself often in a situation, and before we've even gotten to that person, we've had made up this whole scenario in our head of how this conversation is going to go, right? And it never goes that way. And so you get there and you get into this confrontation and it doesn't go that way. And so we have these subconscious beliefs and thoughts and patterns, right? And we were talking about that. And it does start in childhood a lot of times. And so we had that, like you said, you got into it when you were a child and they'd be screaming and yelling, and you do fight or flight, right? Your body feels it. Always say this, your body feels it before your mind is even feeling it, right? You can feel tension when there's tension in a room.
Yes.
And so talk about some of the subconscious things that we tell ourselves as humans.
Oh gosh. For me, one of them was, I always have to walk on eggshells.
Yes.
Because I always felt like I had to walk on eggshells around my mom.
Mm-hmm.
The others are, I'm not brave enough to stand up for myself.
Yeah.
I'm too small. I'm insignificant. I don't matter.
I don't matter. That's a big one. I don't matter.
That
was a huge one for me.
Yeah, those are these are all things that we tell ourselves as children.
Mm-hmm.
When we go to our parents and we want love and comfort, but because of their own emotional baggage, they don't know how to give you love and comfort.
Right.
And therefore you feel like you don't matter. And it's not that you don't matter. It's just that they're dealing with their own shit and they don't know how to deal with you.
Correct.
Right. When I look back at my parents, my mom was, she was 21 when she became a mom of a 5 and a 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
She married my dad and has 2 stepchildren. And then she had me. And then 2 years later, she had my brother. So by the time she was being diagnosed with being bipolar, she was 28 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She had 4 kids under the age of 14.
Wow.
And I look at my oldest now, who is 28. She's the same age my mom was when she was diagnosed. Or I look back when I was 28.
Yes.
And I'm like, I can't imagine having to deal with a mental illness on top of teenagers.
Yeah.
Can't imagine it. But, 7, 8 years ago, that didn't matter to me.
Right.
Because I was holding on to my own emotional baggage.
Yes.
And
It's normal too. I want to express to our audience that it is normal. Yeah. Whatever you're feeling is perfectly normal, and you're allowed to have these feelings, right? I think often we feel guilty for having these feelings even.
We do. Well, we do because we were made to feel guilty for crying. I'm sure you heard it, and I'm sure every generation has heard it, but it's, if you're going to cry, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about.
Yes.
Like what we were going through was not enough to be crying for.
Yeah.
And when an adult, when somebody who is, 3 feet taller than you is raising their voice to a volume of 10 and screaming and yelling at you to get out of the way or to get out of the room, or you're going to grab their belt and you're going to get a spanking with the belt. It's incredibly scary. And we hold on to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when, one day you're at work and you hear coworkers fighting in the next office, that can be incredibly triggering, and you start to tear up and you have no idea why.
Yeah. Because
you've blocked out that traumatic event. But our subconscious knows. I was watching, this was when I really, and I've been on this healing journey for myself for 4 years. I got rid of my anxiety and depression within 6 months.
Okay.
But really learning to understand how my body is sending me messages.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't quite understand until like the last probably 6 months. This has been really fairly new that I've noticed this happening. I love The Walking Dead. It is one of my favorite shows. I love the earlier seasons, so I will always start to watch it from the very beginning. But I noticed as I got into like the 3rd or 4th season, when it started to get more gory and more violent, that as I was sitting there watching it, I could feel my body tensing up. I could feel every time they got into a fight, I could just feel the muscles in my back and my legs and my arms just tense up. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah.
My body is reacting as if I am in this fight with these zombies. And I had to stop watching it.
Yes.
Because I didn't like how my body was tensing up during this show that I loved so much.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't reality, but my body didn't know that.
That's what I say. I've been on my journey about 8 years, and not until the last couple of years have I noticed more about the body and how the body reacts and how we don't pay attention. We've not been taught to pay attention to this body, like as if it's nothing, right? It's just here. Yep. And we're not supposed to pay attention to it. And I'm like, I do the same thing. And when my husband loves to watch stuff like that, and I'm always like, I can't. And he's like, well, it's fake. Yes, I know it's fake.
Right. Logically, we know. Logically, we know.
Yes,
But
but
we're
my
no
body
longer
doesn't
numb to
know.
that.
Right.
Right. We're no longer numb to how our subconscious and our body is reacting to that. I mean, I've seen The Walking Dead probably 6 or 7 times
Wow.
in the last 10 years. You know, just watched it the whole but this last time when I was watching it, it was
Yeah.
just like, "Honey, you've gotta turn it off."
I think that says a lot to the shift that you're understanding within yourself, right? Because we do, when we raise our frequency to a certain level, and there's things that are not good for us, right?
Mhm.
Whether, and I don't say this about everybody, because some of the best healers that I know drink wine. And
Yep.
maybe for you, it's that you can't tolerate it anymore. So
I
it's
can't.
different for
Well,
everybody.
it sucks sometimes.
Yes, it does.
It's like,
The
'cause
path of the
yeah,
healer.
because, there are things that we enjoy, but it no longer supports our journey. It no longer supports
Yes.
our body, in the way that it did. And
Yeah.
and sometimes that really does suck. So even those of us who are on this healing journey that are happier than we have been in years, we still miss having a margarita
Yeah.
on Margarita Day.
Absolutely. Mine was meat for me back in the day. And it's funny because in my early 20s when I had my boys, I was vegan for a long time. And then I went back to eating meat, and I became vegan again when I started my spiritual journey. And I go through phases back and forth, depending on what my body needs. I mean, I am so in tune with my body now that I know if I need to eat a hamburger, I'm going to eat a hamburger because I know that I'm lacking something, right? But that's a learned process. That takes a while to sort of get in touch with your body and learn what that is. I want you to talk a little bit about not only helping people with the work that you do and helping them release what's holding them back, because I know when I see clients and they're really holding on to something subconsciously or consciously, it's almost like they're tied with these chains, right? And it
Mhm.
feels like they have this identity that's is serving them in some way. So it's not only about helping them release what that is, but it's about guiding them back to themselves, I believe, right? Because innately we are beautiful light beings,
Yeah.
and that's who we are, and we've forgotten that. And so part of the path of the healer is to not only help people release, but then guide them back to themselves. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when I'm working with clients, I I make sure that they understand that there is absolutely nothing wrong with them when they come to me. Um, and that what we're releasing is not changing them. It's not forcing them to do things that they don't want to do. It's all we're doing is we're releasing these energetic, I call them burrs. They're like the burrs you get on your socks when you walk through a
Mhm.
field. It's all that we're clearing. And our subconscious will call them all different things.
Yes.
And not only that, but you might have a broadcast message, which is like a radio frequency that you're sending out of reject me. But it may not be telling people to reject you, to push you away. What it might be is you're rejecting any new creativity that's coming into your life.
Mm.
So it's really hard to put logic to what these energies are blocking. But in order for our bodies to heal the way that they're meant to heal, we have to get rid of this energetic baggage. And so our bodies are so incredible,
They
and they have new cells. I think it's like is it like every 21 days or something like that, the cells renew. I can't remember exactly what it is, but like they renew.
Mhm.
The reason why we continue to age the way that we age is because we don't change how we take care of our physical body. So depending on what we're putting in it and what toxins we have around us and all that stuff. But clearing out this energetic baggage also frees up our own abilities to come to the surface. And by abilities, it's connecting to our higher self. It's connecting on a soul level. It's connecting to the divine light. It's understanding that everything that we can learn from is within us. And everybody outside of us is just a reflection of us.
Yes.
So right now, you and I are a reflection of each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? There's you are in me and I am in you.
Yes.
And what energy healing and what I think self-care does as well is it brings us back to that point where we can really understand who we are at the core.
Yes. It's
And
so
then you
beautiful. It really is so beautiful because when you've done the work that we've done, and I always tell people, I don't ask you to do anything or advise that you do anything that I haven't done myself.
correct.
It's really deep, intensive work.
Yeah.
When I wrote the book, Reaching for You, it was one of those things. I was guided to write the book, and there was 12 transmissions. I went through the ringer. I did a year of the transmissions. It took me a year to download all those transmissions. And then it took me another year to integrate all of the lessons that would be involved with those transmissions. So it was like I was the guinea pig, I needed to do, in order to do this work, I need to do the work on myself so that I can help other people understand. And I can be in that seat to say, I understand what it's like to be there and to know that. And there's some people that get really angry with you when you tell them that the world is a mirror and you're bringing this stuff to you. And they're like, well, why would I do that? Why would I want that?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not that, yeah, when you tell someone that, you attracted getting into that car accident, they're like, explain. And I'm like, well, last week you might have said that you needed a day off.
Yes.
And this is what happened.
And that's been a learning experience too for me. I don't know about for you, but I come from the old masculine way of thinking that I need to work hard and I need to put myself all in and work, right to the point where I am shut down. My guides have shut me down many times when I've been in that sort of masculine role of working, and it's brought me to learn more of the feminine way of being. So there comes a point when I work, and I'm just in that mindset, right? That they'll shut me down. I'll be sick, I'll be tired, whatever it is, so that I don't work, because I'm supposed to be in this state of being, which is hard to do when you have that old mentality way of thinking, right? A lot of us, my generation, had that drilled in their head. If you're not working, you're lazy. If you're not doing something, if you're not scrubbing the floor, you're lazy, right? If you're sitting on the couch when I get home, you're lazy.
I still struggle with that to this day.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky enough that my husband helped me to, I want to say helped me, but he makes the money and I get to stay home and I get to work my business and I don't have to contribute to any of the household bills. Whatever I make, I can decide where it goes, whether it goes back into the business or it goes towards vacation, whatever. And I still struggle with that, even though I know he is all on board. It was his idea to do it this way.
Yeah.
I still struggle because everybody else around me, unless they're at retirement age, everybody else around me is working.
Yeah.
Every household has 2 working adults in it.
Yeah. I'm similar to you. My husband, God bless him. We've been together 11 years and he, just allows me to do it my way. And I think he sees more now because he notices more. He's much more spiritual today than he was when we first met, but he understands more about what I do. And then the ability that I have to also be able to cultivate that space of just being now, right? Because I will work. And I always say when you're healers or psychics or mediums, whatever it is, we work even when we're not working.
We do. We're always sending healing because we have, we don't just have the afterlife that comes to us, right? I work with a lot of entities that have been here for millennial, that are ready to move on to the next course in their life. They don't
Mhm.
want to be harmful to humans anymore. They want to move on. But we also get higher selves of people coming to us and wanting healing.
Yes.
And some of us are aware of it and some of us are not. But, people leave their souls all the time. I mean, their souls leave their bodies all the time and they go right back. It's
Yes.
it's what happens when you're daydreaming or zoning out. You're leaving your body for a moment until you come back.
Yes,
And
meditation, out
yeah,
of body experiences, near death
yep.
experiences, even sleeping. I know for me, when I first started my spiritual awakening, and then we lived in Sedona for a while, that opened so much for me because I astral traveled like crazy. And I would
Mhm.
wake up exhausted. I slept all
Yep.
night and I would wake up exhausted. Like, what was I doing? And I had these massive visionary, prophetic dreams at that time. It was amazing. But I would be like, I'm even working when I'm sleeping. My gosh, like that's so deeply embedded into me. So where does that come from? Is it my core level of my human? Is it my genetic level of my grandparents? Is
Right.
it the history level of the United States that I live in? Or is it my soul level? So, I did a lot of work at looking at what that was. And I do know for me, still, that is still a progression. I always feel like people look at healers and they think, well, you've done your work. It's all done.
Yeah,
It's
it's never
not,
done.
it's not
The
perfect.
CVS receipt. It's a CVS receipt. It just keeps going and going.
Yes, absolutely.
Or, yeah, people have to understand that as healers, um, we're still learning in this human experience. We may be healers, but we are still in this human experience and we still have lessons to learn
Yes.
and knowledge to share. Um, and it's just, it's like any other job. A lot of people get up and go to work and earn their paycheck. We get up, we help people to heal and earn a paycheck. So it's
Right.
it's it's not any different. It's just we're just using different tools.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that. You were drawn to sharing your voice in the work that you do, and you started a podcast as well. I never thought this would be where I would be. This is not something I wanted to do, but I kept being called into this space, and it took me a long time to sort of break into that, right, and be able to feel in a comfortable with myself enough to be able to do it by myself or to interview other people. So talk a little bit about what inspired you to start your podcast.
I wanted to tell stories of transformation. I wanted people who were just starting out on their journey to find my podcast and pick an episode and be able to hear somebody who had gone through maybe something similar and came out on the other side because they found a coach, a modality, a book, something that sparked that push in them to change their path,
Mhm.
to understand that they did not have to follow the crowd to feel better.
Yeah.
A
Do you
lot
remember
of
what that was for you?
for me it was yes, the moment that I decided to latch onto energy healing was when I wanted something to get rid of my anxiety and depression.
Mhm.
And looking back, I didn't realize how many different times energy work or self-care was kind of like put into my awareness.
Mhm.
The earliest I can remember is my mom used to teach meditation to the kids in the neighborhood when we lived in England.
Okay.
And I can remember not being able to walk through the living room because I was loud as an 8-year-old. Um, but there were things that were just dropped in my life over time. And this last time it was one of two things was going to happen. I was either going to find something that was going to get rid of the anxiety and depression for good, or I was going to end up hurting myself by running my vehicle into a telephone pole
Mm.
because I needed time off. I needed space. At least that's what I thought I needed. Turns out I just needed the emotion code. I needed to find Dr. Bradley Nelson and have him explain to me that with a refrigerator magnet, you can release these trapped emotions.
Yes.
Which was so out there and
mind blowing, right? You're like,
I was like, I have a refrigerator magnet. How does this work? You know, it has taken me to the point now where I still use muscle testing. I use over 100 different charts. I use my intuition to help others to clear this emotional baggage on so many different levels. And with the hopes that they come to the understanding that they can heal themselves. I love teaching my clients that they can learn how to muscle test. I love teaching my clients that they can use the same charts I'm using to find what they need to clear, and that they don't need a magnet anymore, that they can just tell it to leave, basically. Send it away with love, send it away with gratitude. Be grateful that you had that energy in the first place, because it wouldn't, without that negative energy that you've held on to, you wouldn't be who you are today.
Exactly. When I first learned about muscle testing, I learned theta healing after I learned Reiki, and Reiki opened a whole new world for me. But theta healing was one of those things. And I was like, muscle testing, what is that? And then when our teacher taught us, and I was amazed how the body, because we were taught with our body, right? You stand with your body. Yep. And that was the first way I was taught. And I was amazed when you ask your body something and it answers you. That this was how long ago it was. And I was like, what? This is crazy. Like, I was mind blown. When I tell you, I was like in shock. Like, is this actually possible? I wanted to tell everybody about it. Like, did you know your body can do this? Your body can tell you what it needs, what it wants. Yeah. You know, I was like, no way. So it's amazing when you have those moments, right? And you're like, so it's an epiphany within you. Like, why didn't I have this information before? And now that I have this information, what am I going to do with it? Right. Because I still muscle test some things. And, you know, there's big decisions in our life that we make sometimes. I'm like, I want a full yes, or I want a no. And it's like, I don't want anywhere in between, because if it's not worth it for me, I want to know if it's something that I really need to do. You know, I made the goal a long time ago for this path that I was taking. And I talk about it very openly about my son dying, and being able to step out of that pain and suffering and move into a place of beauty. And for me, that's been able to share my voice, right? To be able to help others, to be able to see them, help them understand that you're not alone in any of this work that we're doing. We're all here helping one another on the path. And I love that you share your podcast and you're able to help other people and help them find places to sort of just catch up and listen, like, hey, you know, I'm just feeling this today, and maybe I can find somebody that's speaking about this. And what I find is the universe just goes, bam, here it is right in front of you. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, you know, I wasn't even doing anything, and your website popped up on my phone. And I'm like, yeah, that's the way the universe works, right? When you're ready, the universe will bring it to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. So awesome. It was wonderful to speak with you today and to share your wisdom with us. Can you tell how to get in touch with you?
Freezing.
Oh, can you tell people how to get in touch with you?
Yes, designyourexistence.com and Design Your Existence on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. And until then, keep listening to the whispers of your soul. I'm Tenya and I from the Healing Heart Initiative, and I will see you next week. Thank you, Tenya, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.